Hey guys, how's it going? This is Sky over here for Espresso with Sky. Hope you guys are having an amazing time. Yes, 2 weeks have flown by and we're at another episode of LAB78. And guys, this is the 9th episode, so this is kind of cool. I really enjoy this time here. So if this is your first time or if you haven't done so, go ahead, hit the subscription and just smash that notification bell. And everyone who's online right now, make sure you like the video. Click, click, okay? Now, if you really want to help us out, also leave a comment below. And what kind of comment? Today's question is, what time do you usually wake up? Okay, what time do you usually wake up? Okay, so like, well, I wake up at this time and this time. Okay, so what time do you usually wake up? For myself, you guys might be a little bit shocked here. I usually wake up around 4 a.m. Okay, so I was like, oh my goodness, why would you wake up at 4 a.m.? And honestly, guys, I've been waking up at 4 a.m. for more than half my life. So like about 23 years, I've been waking up at 4 a.m. and you're like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? And for myself, it's because, partly has to do with my faith. I'm a pastor, missionary. I spend the early morning in prayer. And, whenever I tell people I wake up at 4 a.m. to pray, they're like, are you Muslim? And I'm like, well, no, I'm not Muslim, but, I do wake up early. And it's a great way to start my day. And for those of you who don't know, actually, if you look at like the most successful people in the world, this is like a successful person's habit, okay? So successful people usually wake up, guess what time, guys? Anywhere from 3:45 to 4:30 a.m. is usually where successful people wake up. Now, I'll give you an example. Like if you look Tim Cook from Apple, he usually wakes up around 3:45. I believe The Rock, right? Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he wakes up pretty early too. He is in the gym working out by 4 a.m. every single day. He does not skip, right? So if you take a look at all these super successful people, it's 3:45 to 4:30, somewhere around the range they're waking up. And just to let you guys give you one idea of why I do that, it starts my day in a very quiet time. Now, what is that? Of course, it's quiet because no one's up, right? But it's also, there's no distractions. I have nothing distracting me at all, right? I have nothing like, oh my gosh, when's my next schedule? Oh, I don't have enough time. No, I'm very calm. I can do the things I want to do. I prepare my stuff. I have my prayer time. I read the Bible. I do a bunch of different things. Plus, I can have time for breakfast and I can prepare for the day to start. So that's why for me, I'll do a talk later on why you should wake up early at 4 a.m. And guys, I'm not going to tell you like you should wake up early because God wants you to. Like, I'm not going to talk like that because when you talk about successful people like Tim Cook and like The Rock, they're not spiritual people. They're not people who are like religious doing it. But if you look at all across the board, many successful people are waking up around 3:45 to 4:30 a.m. The super successful, right? And that's a total another video. So guys, leave a comment below. What's your comment going to be? Your comment is, what time do you usually wake up, right? Just curious. What time do you usually wake up? Okay. So today I have this very, very interesting topic because it's about becoming more and more Malaysian, okay? And I have a story to go with this too, and I'm going to leave the story to the end because I know a lot of people are eating at the beginning, and I don't want them to spit their food out and stuff like that because, last week when I talked about the nuclear story, the nuclear bombs, people are asking me like, hey, Sky, are you going to tell another nuclear bomb story today? I'm like, no, probably not. It's not going to be a nuclear bomb story, but it's still a story. I don't know if you should be eating if you're hearing this story. Because if you guys know me, my stories are more than likely going to be in the bathroom, okay? And I'm going to tell you what, some people ask me like, why do you always have these bathroom stories? And the answer is, it's because the bathroom is like the place you go to a lot, wherever you go. Right? You go to the mall, you go to a restaurant, you go anywhere, you're always going to the the bathroom, the toilet, whatever it is, right? So I guess because you go there a lot, I have a lot more stories. Now, where did this idea of like me becoming more Malaysian come about? Okay. Now, cool thing is, the reason why I start to feel like, oh, I am becoming more Malaysian is because there's a friend of mine that is moving back to Malaysia. And they haven't lived here for like decades, right? Not decades, like over a decade. So like 11, 12, 13 years. They haven't been to Malaysia. And I'm meeting up with my friend. And the thing they keep saying to me is, oh, you're more Malaysian than me. And I'm like, really? And I started to think about it. I was like, wait, you know what? I am becoming Malaysian. Okay, so how am I becoming Malaysian, right? So, when I go to park my car, and the friend is there, right? When I go to park my car, right? And, I'll just do a double park. Yes, guys, I am double parking. Okay, so I double park and the person's like, oh, what are you gonna do? I was like, it's okay. And then I open, like, you know where the sun visor is? I pull out a slip and I already have my name and my phone number ready, and I put it on the dashboard. It's like, don't worry, they'll call us if they need to get out. And we walked there, like, oh, really? I was like, this is normal. Hey, come on, are you Malaysian? Come on, if you're Malaysian, you double park, right? They're like, wow, you're so Malaysian. I'm like, really? Right? The second thing is this. Second thing is, I think all of you have this experience is, we have the Waze app, right? Like, I never used the Waze app before. Never, right? And here in Malaysia, I am driving all the time. But it's always like, when I first came, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many tolls. There's so many tolls. Why there's so many tolls, right? And on your Waze app, someone taught me, and I was teaching my friend, is like, oh, if you want to avoid the tolls, you go into your Waze app, you click the settings, and from the settings, you go and you click the, avoid toll button, and you bring it back, and it'll always take you on the route for avoiding the toll. And I'm just like, they're like going, oh, wow. It's like, it takes a little longer, right? A little bit longer, but you'll avoid the tolls. And they're like, wow, you're so Malaysian, right? Now, the third one is something I think all of us have experienced. Okay. Talking about toll booths. If you guys have been to a toll booth, how many times have you been caught without money on your touch and go card? How many times have you experienced, right? It's it's like, but for me, the very first thing that made this person think I was more Malaysian is they're like, oh, shoot, I have no money on my touch and go card. And all Malaysians know this. Oh, no, go to the very left. Go to the very left. The very left, you'll have the booth. And like, really? It's like, trust me, the very left one, that's where you pay in cash or you can top up. And they're like, really? Wow, you're so Malaysian, right? I'm like, but then this reminds me of the thing that makes us more Malaysian than anyone else is this experience. Okay, guys? I know if you are Malaysian, you all have this experience. When you don't have any money on your touch and go, and you pull into the toll, right? And you put your touch and go onto the scanner. And then in front of you it says, kurang baki. Kurang baki. And you're like, no! Because you look in your rearview mirror, you have like 20 cars behind you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta back out. It's the most every Malaysian goes through this. Right? It's like, you're like, oh, because of me, all these people so tahan, and then I'm the one that's so malu, right? It's like, I'm so embarrassed, right? And you have to like turn around and you put your reverse on, and you're like, oh my gosh. And all these cars have to start backing up, and you slowly see more cars coming out of line, and you're like, oh my goodness. And you know what the worst is? The worst is when you have to cross like 3 or 4 tolls to get to the very side. And it's so, you know what? This is so Malaysian. I think that's a Malaysian, right? It's everyone's been through that toll. It's so malu, right? It's so embarrassing. You're just like, I just want to crawl into a hole and kill myself, right? And that's the thing. Now, here's the thing that's kind of interesting though. Like, this is something, because I think I've been caught without money on my touch and go. Probably about in the last 2 years, I've probably been caught about 4 times, 3 or 4 times. It's always embarrassing. But here's the thing that's kind of interesting, because you've either been in the situation where you're the one who doesn't have money in your touch and go, or there's a long lineup behind you and they all are, like, oh my gosh, this person, oh, why didn't they check their touch and go? Oh, they should have known, kind of thing, right? Now, here's the thing that's kind of interesting that I realized about, just kind of about human beings, okay? This is the thing that's kind of interesting. The thing that's kind of interesting about us is when we're the ones who do something wrong, or no, when someone does something wrong to us, right? Someone does something wrong to us, like, they're the ones who didn't, top up their card. We get so, like, angry because, oh, they did this to us, and people are angry, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And everyone's backing up, and they're so angry, right? But it's really interesting. The thing that's really contradictory about people is this. On the flip side, when you're the one that does something wrong, you're so embarrassed, right? But it's interesting because our mind switches to, oh, I wish they could just understand, right? Oh, everyone makes mistakes. Oh, it's something that everyone goes through. It's really interesting. And it's very contradictory because when someone does something wrong to us, we're like angry. Like, what are you doing? But when we do something wrong to someone else, we really, really hope deeply in our hearts that, they just understand that mistakes happen. It was completely a mistake, or I have some bad things going on in my life. And I thought to myself, wow, it's so interesting because when I'm in the back, right, I'm the one like going, we're always like this. We're like, oh, right? Whoa, what's wrong with this person? Why didn't they, they top up their touch and go? So I looked at that and said, yeah, you know what? Human beings are very interesting because we are like that. We are kind of contradictory, as in when it happens to us, we are angry and we want to kill this person. But when we do it to other people, we're like, oh, please understand us. And I think we got to find a way to bridge that gap so we have more empathy towards these people. Because, people get angry all the time. And we expect people not to get angry at us, all right? Fourth thing, but this is something that didn't happen recently. But in my year, just during the entire MCO, this has already happened twice in Selangor, in the area I live in. And it's like water shortages. I have no idea, but in this country, water just all of a sudden doesn't work. And it's not just for like hours. Those of you who are not living in Malaysia, water shortages goes for days, right? They'll tell you straight up, oh yeah, you're not going to have water for 3 days. We're like, 3? In my head, as a foreigner, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this country? What do you do for 3 days, right? And then all my Malaysian friends, they're getting all these buckets and like these garbage cans and they're filling them with water. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, there's not enough water, so we just fill these up and we use this to shower and water. I'm like, this is crazy, right? It's like we're in a poor country or something. And then I've had water shortages like 2-3 times, and now it's kind of like the announcement is like, oh, in Selangor, water shortages. What do? I walk straight to the buckets, I bring them up, I fill them up, and then I check my friends who is not living in Selangor, and I make sure they're on speed dial, because if we run out of water, I just like, hey, can I come over to your house to take a shower, right? Can I come over to get some water, please? So I always, I'm always checking which friends to go over to use the water. And I'm always, we got the extra bins and the extra garbage cans to fill with water, so we'll have enough water in our house or even in the church, right? So I'm like, wow, I'm actually becoming more Malaysian, right? Now, here's where the story comes in, guys. This is where the story comes in. So this is another story that has to do with the bathroom, the toilet, okay? And I know, no, guys, I'm not going nuclear. There's no big sounds of like, like nothing like that gonna go on, right? So don't freak out like if you're eating something. So this is actually a really, really embarrassing story, but this happened to me actually quite early. And I actually have not told a single person about this story because it's so embarrassing, right? I'm just like, wow, I'll never tell a single person about this. But you know how it is, like I'm on YouTube and all of a sudden I feel compelled. It's like confession time in front of the camera. Like I have to tell someone this, right? Because then someone, okay, so this is what happened. There's a shopping mall around my area. It's called Sunway Geo. Okay, Sunway Geo. And in this place, I was at a restaurant. Then after I had to go to the bathroom. And of course, I had to do some big business, right? So I'm like going, oh my gosh, here we go. So I go into the toilet. And what happens is there's no toilet paper. Like there's not even a dispenser. It's not like they ran out. There's just no toilet paper, right? So remember, this is a lot earlier on. So for me there's no way, like I don't even know how to use the hose, right? I look at the hose like a snake. I'm not going to touch it, right? It's like something it's off bounds. So I'm like, what am I going to, there's no toilet paper. So I'm looking I look at every single stall and every single one doesn't have toilet paper. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Finally, I see over there, like, oh, outside there is one roll. Like outside, they're not inside, but there's only one place to get toilet paper. And I'm like, what? Like, what's that for? And you kind of realize that everyone has to take their own toilet paper and take it with them into the toilet, right? Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting because I'm sitting there like going, how do you know like how much to take? Right? And the weird thing is like, you can't ask someone like, hey, how much toilet paper do I take before I go to the bathroom, right? I'm like, how much do I take here? And I'm also, you know, like I'm a foreigner in the country. I was new at that time. Like, but I don't want to waste, right? Like I'm in a new country. I got to respect the country, right? So I'm like, okay, just take, you know, and I was like, okay, don't waste too much. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to ask anyone. So I start taking some and I took a lot in my mind. I was like, oh, this seems like a lot and I don't want to waste it. So I kind of stopped there and I ripped it and I went to the bathroom. Okay. So I go to the toilet, but then interesting thing is there's like, you see that I see toilet paper on top of the, on top, right? I'm like, look at these people wasting toilet paper. Right? They're wasting. So I took it and I threw it in the toilet. I was like, what are you wasting toilet paper for, right? Come on, we're going to clean our country. We're going to make sure that Malaysia's clean, right? So I do my business, right? And, you know, I got a roll. You know, I took a lot and finished and everything. And you know, at that point, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, you know, Malaysians pray a lot because I see, you know, the Muslim call to prayer is like 5 times a day. And I'm going, wow, you know, these guys must be really spiritual to know exactly how much toilet paper to take every time, right? Because that's something that a normal person can't do. It's you know, it's kind of like, God, how much do I take? He's like, take around 7 of these. Oh, 7, right? It's like, so I'm like, wow, these people must be really spiritual to know how much toilet paper to take. So I'm thinking to myself, is I took enough, maybe too much. I finished my business. And now it's time to wipe, right? And, you know, I'm wiping and I don't know why, but on that day, you know the times where you wipe and it feels like it never gets clean and you keep wiping and wiping and wiping. It was like the never ending wipe. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Right? And I'm wiping and I'm looking at the toilet paper around my hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm running out. I'm running out of toilet paper. I'm like, please God, right? And you know, when I'm getting to near the end, I'm wiping hard, like, get everything new. And I'm like, oh, please God. And I go get it. And I'm really wiping as hard as I can, right? I'm sure that there was like a rash down there because I was wiping like, and every time there's still some left. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I'm down to like this much paper. And I'm like, what do I do? So, you know, I'm like, well, I can't run out. So I should take one slice, like I'm taking one corner and I'm like slowly folding it up. I'm like, please God. And I wipe, I'm like, oh, and I take another corner. I start cutting it in half, right? I'm cutting the toilet paper in half and I'm wiping again. I'm like, please God, I'm down to two pieces of toilet paper. I'm like, God, if you love me, please just let it end after these 2. Split it in half so it turns into 4 pieces, right? And then, you know, I'm like, I have like a small piece of paper like this. I'm folding it. I'm wiping like, oh my gosh, right? And I'm like, ugh, right? After the last piece, I wasn't finished. I still had some left. And I'm like going, okay, I got a big dilemma. I got 2 options, Sky. Number 1, start using the hose. Like, you know, just start using the hose, right? Once you use the hose, you know, this could be the day you are forced to use the hose. My second option is just kind of, when no one's there, go outside, grab some more toilet paper and run back in, right? So I'm like going, okay, what's my options here? Which one should I do? But I'm like, but Sky, you do know that if you go outside, you can't pull your pants up because you're gonna put stains on your pants, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to walk out with my pants down. Oh, wait, no, this is crazy. I am not going to, is it the hose or am I gonna go out? So you know what I said to myself? There's no way I'm doing the hose. So I said, I am going to go out and grab more toilet paper. So I got up and I was about to unlock it, but I'm like, I'm listening to hear for people, right? So I hear someone at the toilet, they get up and then they wash their hands and they leave. I'm like, I think this is it, right? But the good thing is this, guys, I can open it and the toilet, I'm on the first stall, which is right, the toilet paper is right next to me. I'm like, okay, Sky, do it quick before someone comes in, right? So I hear no one in there. I open it and I look, no one's at washing their hands. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, and I turn around and there's an old woman cleaning the bathroom behind me. She looks at me, I'm like, ah! And I'm looking like this with my pants down and I can't even run in. I'm like, ah! Like backing up into the place. I close it up and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. What do I do? And this woman is there and I don't know what she's thinking. She saw a man walk out with his pants down, taking toilet paper, and I turn around like, ah! And I can't, because my pants are around my knees. I can't run inside, so I'm like, I go and I close the door. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? And I sat there so embarrassed. And I finished my stuff, and I waited in the bathroom for about probably around 15 minutes, just making sure this person left. I'm just in there like going, oh my goodness, this is the craziest thing that has ever happened. And after 15 minutes, I got out and I just like, I gotta get out of here. So I left. But good thing happened out of this. Because in my head, I was like going, I got it. This is why people left the toilet paper above the toilet, right? Just in case you run out, there's extra that people left behind. Like this is something like, I'm like, wow, this is something that makes me more Malaysian because I understand this. So from this point on, you know what I do? Before I go into the bathroom, I like take the toilet paper and I make boxing gloves. Like I make these huge gloves of toilet paper and I get as much as I can. And what do? Like a good Malaysian. After I'm done, I nicely put the rest of my roll on top of the toilet so that the next person, if they ever get into trouble, they can use the toilet paper that I used. And that makes me feel good. Because the next time, when I walk out of the bathroom and I see like an Indian or a Malay come in, I'm kind of like, give them the look like, I'm like you guys. I'm Malaysian. I understand. And then I walk through with that, that look of, I know. And I can go out comfortably. And this is why for myself is, it's a pretty bad experience, but it gave me a good lesson. And it helped me to understand why people leave toilet paper on top of the toilet. And it's not because of waste. It's because we care about the next person. We care. We love the next person, which makes me want to say, Malaysia boleh. We can, right? We can. Malaysia boleh. All right, guys. So that is my story for today. I'm sure you guys, it was okay to eat with this, wasn't it? Was it okay to eat? I hope there wasn't too many people like, I was eating chunky soup. I was eating beef stew. Right? I'm sorry. But it wasn't as bad as last week's nuclear bomb story, right? It wasn't that bad, right? All right, cool. So guys, that is my story for today and my Becoming Malaysian live broadcast. And I hope you guys are having an amazing and awesome time. Yes, this will be the end of today's live broadcast. Hope you guys are going to have an amazing week, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks again for another one. And guys, in the link below, when you comment, don't just comment about what time you wake up, but actually, if you have any suggestions like, oh, hey, Sky, can you talk about this? I would love to talk about new topics and new things, and just leave it down below, and I'll definitely make sure it'll be in the next talk. All right, guys? Everyone, if you haven't done so, hit the like, comment below, and we'll see you guys again next time. Thank you for joining us here on Espresso with Sky. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.